Apple is the company of disruption. The personal computer, the music industry, or the thing you watch this video on. When Apple decides to enter an industry, it is likely to change forever. And their next target industry is going to be an interesting one. Apple is entering sports. They are buying broadcasting rights, produce high-end series, and even considered bidding for Man United. It's all part of a bigger plan. To build a sportsOS. Welcome to Athletic Interest. In this video, we'll break down Apple's strategy and how it could soon disrupt the whole sports industry. Apple is the most valuable company in the world. It was the first ever to reach a valuation over $3 trillion. That's more than the GDP of France, one of the biggest economies in the world. Apple has so much cash lying around, they could buy Adidas twice without having to take a loan. We could continue the list, but you get the point. Apple is massive. But their business model used to be quite simple. Sell high-quality tech devices at a premium price to people around the world who want to feel different. Mix that with strong marketing strategies and innovative product design, and bam, you're worth trillions of dollars. Okay, maybe it's not that easy. Apple has mastered one thing better than any other company: creating an ecosystem. If you have an iPhone, you will likely own a MacBook, maybe even an Apple Watch. Or at least those are the first options you look at when buying a new gadget, and that's by design. Apple's products are built to work together seamlessly, as an interconnected system. For example, when you download an app on your iPhone, it is automatically also added to your iPad. It means that once you are locked into the Apple world, it is likely you are not getting out soon. Some call it a walled garden. Very pretty on the inside, but very difficult to leave. The more Apple products you have, the more likely you are to buy more, sometimes to a ridiculous extent. How about these Apple wheels for only $700? There are pros and cons for the user, but for Apple's bottom line, it's a genius strategy. It creates brand loyalty, encourages customers to buy more products, and provides recurring revenue streams. All in all, the Apple ecosystem might be the company's strongest USP. But not all products of the ecosystem are equal. More than half of Apple's revenue comes from just one single product: the iPhone. On the one hand, it is very impressive to build the biggest company of all time almost entirely on one product. But it also means that Apple is incredibly dependent on that single product. What if one day people stop buying the iPhone? Well, that's exactly what's happening. iPhone sales are stagnating, and in capitalism, if you're not growing, you're dying. So Apple has a serious problem. But Tim Cook has a plan, and as we'll soon find out, sport is a big part of it. After the iPhone, the second biggest revenue driver is the service division. While the first version of the ecosystem was designed to keep putting new devices in your hands, the ecosystem 2.0 is more focused on improving the services on those devices. iCloud, Apple Music, or Apple Fitness. The more devices you own, the better these services become. And that's good for Apple's balance sheet. Services are a growing part of the core business, and even better, they produce more than double the profit of traditional iPhone sales. So Apple's focus is shifting. More than ever, Apple wants to sell people constant, ongoing subscriptions for things they can do on their phones. Soon you will be woken up by a HomePod before asking Siri to turn on your coffee machine. You will then read the news on your iPad before taking your Apple driverless car to the doctor, where they give you a diagnosis based on the data from your Apple Watch. Then you go home, unlock your Apple Smart Lock, and watch the latest Apple movie with popcorn bought using Apple Pay. In this 1984-like scenario, there's already a hint to the core of the strategy. What's the main reason for buying a subscription? Almost everyone has some kind of content subscription. Spotify, Netflix, YouTube Premium, or you pay to watch your favorite football league. Live sport is the ultimate media property. 95 of the top TV events of 2022 were sports, which is why broadcasting rights are incredibly expensive. But what makes sport as a media product so valuable? We can break it down into 3 reasons. The first reason is demand. There are billions of sports fans around the globe, and they follow their sport to wherever it's shown. Just ask Amazon. They saw a massive increase in viewership for their Prime service when they started showing Premier League games. Even better, the demand remains stable because there is always supply. There is always a next match, and then there is always a next season. Think about that from the entertainment industry's point of view. Content that can be expanded into sequels and spin-offs is always more valuable. Titanic was a historic box office success with more than $2 billion worldwide, but it's difficult to expand into a franchise given the finality of the ending. Star Wars or Harry Potter make billions by selling toys, video games, and building whole theme parks based on their universe. Sport can do exactly that, and more. It's like a series that never gets cancelled and will always be watched. And even when the live action is over, there is more. Series like Ted Lasso are the perfect addition to build hype, bridge the off-season for bored fans, and draw them into the ecosystem. But live sport is even better than series because it has built-in exclusivity. When Apple purchased the rights for the MLS, they ensured that no one else can show the games. Any MLS fan has no choice but to go to Apple. This is where Apple has decided to think different. Apple signed a 10-year, $2.5 billion deal to secure the rights for the MLS. That's more than 4 times the worth of the previous deal. So some experts said that Apple overpaid for a league without global fame and star power. So what's their plan? Apple executive Eddie Q is actually a huge sports fan, but thinks that the current system is broken and that Apple can make it a lot better. While tech has evolved so many areas of our lives, the viewing experience got better in some ways, but much worse in others. Watching your favorite team can be incredibly expensive. Most leagues split their games across multiple TV and streaming platforms. This forces fans to buy several expensive subscriptions and leads to a hassle when you try to find out exactly where your team's game will be streamed. Apple wants to change that and prove that football can be the sport of streaming. Apple's Season Pass is their vision of how modern sports should look like. Every game, available when and wherever you want in a high-quality stream, together with additional video content and stats around your favorite team. All in one place. And connected to other Apple services like Apple News and Apple Music. Basically, the idea is to give people what they want, when they want it, in the form they want it in, at a reasonable price, and they are more likely to pay for it rather than illegally stream it. It might sound simple, but the greatest innovations are often genius because of their simplicity. What's important to understand about Apple's strategy is that it is not just about adding a new revenue stream from people paying for subscriptions. It's just as much about those people being drawn into the Apple ecosystem to buy more gadgets. This means trouble for traditional media companies and could have huge consequences for athletes, teams, and the sports industry as a whole. Apple has much deeper pockets than traditional broadcasters who rely on getting back the money they spent on sports rights through subscriptions and ads. Apple has another way to monetize the fans: their ecosystem. That means Apple might be willing to spend much more for sports rights than traditional media companies. The increased competition from big techs like Apple and Amazon and their desire to produce original content will drive up the prices. That money will trickle down to the leagues, teams, and athletes. And that's just considering broadcasting rights. What if big tech starts investing directly in leagues or teams? It's still a far-fetched scenario, but just imagine Apple taking over a Premier League club. All of a sudden there would be a massive new player on the market, a counterpart to the investments from the Middle East. One who not only has big pockets, but tech know-how that could potentially lead to completely new innovations and change the way we watch the game. Or they will simply launch a new football with a pro version that costs twice as much but it has a better camera and Face ID. TV broadcasters and the explosion of media rights values have changed football at the beginning of the century. The next revolution might be ahead. This time fueled by big tech.